This is former WWE superstar Kurt Hawkins, now known as the Prince of Queens, Brian Myers, and you're listening to the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show.
Produced by the Cleveland Sound Radio Network. Here is the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show, hosted by Glenn Moore and Steve Guy.
Welcome. This is Awesome Wrestling Show here on SealySound.com and This Is Awesome WrestlingShow.com. Steve, the troubles of operating a website that gets a major amount of traffic, and when your service provider is one of your friends and he emails you over the weekend and tells you, hey, your website is down, and then he has to do it again the following day because it's a good thing because we're getting so much traffic for our shows and for our Bray Wyatt story that we hit on last week. But this is AwesomeWrestlingShow.com. We are at the cusp of our third upgrade. So if you're listening to this before April 30th, please just visit once for the show, because if you visit more than
Come
once,
back later.
Our website might shut down. So
hashtag first world podcast problems.
Yeah, first world. So
I'm gonna try to crash the servers.
John Thorne's that's going to keep refreshing, which leads to our in-studio guest, our third voice for the evening. You know him from AIW. You know him if you're just a Cleveland native. You know him if you're just a native of the U.S. of A.
If
and
you
Canada.
are a big fan of Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, you might know him.
Yeah, I was there on Sunday.
If you're a fan of Melt, you know this man. He is AIW extraordinaire. I'm just going to call you a man who wears many hats, including Grados.
I'm only wearing one hat.
Yeah.
He is
backwards.
John Thorne. John, I believe this is
I've been on here a
third.
No, more than that.
Fourth.
This is like 5, maybe
Well, we
6.
consider you a co-host now, so you're not technically a guest.
When I hit the double digits, you guys are gonna have to give me a present of some
He's
sort.
a guest co-host.
Guest co-host.
So you're more like a Eddie Kingston now, who just hijacked our show.
I'm like when they have
Well, we
like.
anticipate you being on it.
I'm like when they would have like Gary Shandling come in and sit for Johnny Carson for
Yeah.
months at a
there
time.
we go. Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
I'm
like
like
sometimes
I'm like
Ed
the
McMahon couldn't
permanent
be
guest
there.
host.
Right, Ed McMahon couldn't always make it, so somebody else would sit in.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
So you are. So technically, EC3 owns the record of having the most appearances on the show with 3. Since you are a kind of the third voice co-host, EC3 still holds the title belt for that.
As interviews, yeah.
For
Because
interviews.
even Eddie's been on the show multiple times, but not in interview form.
Eddie
Correct.
Kingston likes to talk, man.
He sure does.
He does.
He's an excellent interviewer as well in terms of interviewing guests.
I think he wants to start his own
I
podcast.
hope that's with sarcasm, because he is horrible.
I think he's going through a midlife
colorful
crisis.
in a different way. He's excellent in a different
Eddie
way.
Kingston
He's colorful.
is barred from the podcast.
Eddie Kingston's so over AIW crowd.
He quit.
He quit.
Even though
He's
he
gone.
quit.
He's
Quit,
gone.
He's gone.
I know. They went nuts for him that show.
He's gone.
He's gone.
That's what happens.
Leave
you
the
can
memories
no longer,
alone.
When you can no longer be that good of a heel, there's only one thing left to do. Walk away.
Walk away.
Retire.
Yeah. He can't. He
So-
can't turn face.
So we'll get into AIW. We're going to talk some AIW tidbits. Got a lot of shows coming up. We have a show this Saturday, Girls Night Out 17. We'll talk about. We also got the J-Lit next month. You have some big names coming up. Maybe you'll give a clue to who might be remaining involved with the tournament.
By the time this comes out, it'll already be announced.
It comes out tonight.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Well, then we'll talk about that as well. So we got a lot of things to get into. Obviously, the big news in wrestling is the 9th wonder of the world, Chyna, passing away a alleged overdose last week after our show aired. Previously, this is episode number 81, by the way. So the wrestling world has been mourning for about a week. A woman that it has had troubles outside the ring post WWE. But all know in WWE, Attitude Era, she is one of those, faces, those images of the Attitude Era that kind of set the tone for maybe women's wrestling. Jacked lady coming in, shaking Marlena, as her debut, and then winning the women's title, being the IC champion, and also being in talks to win the WWF Championship, which was it hasn't been done since by any woman, but also hasn't even been talked of even before. So
She was in the Royal Rumble.
in the Royal Rumble 2, the first woman to enter at overall, but enter number 30, threw a man out, threw Mark Henry out. So she has elimination to her record. But really, before we get into discussing Chyna, and John Thorne has some Chyna, I want to say stories, but trying to book Chyna wasn't too easy.
Well, I'm a little disappointed that in your very, very detailed rundown of Chyna's career, you did not mention that she also had a pyro cannon.
Oh,
because that was probably the best part of Chyna's entire run.
It's like The Rock knew at WrestleMania that Chyna was on her last day, so here's for you, Chyna.
When I was about 18, I tried to book Chyna for my untrained / backyard. Like, it was in a ring, and we were drawing a lot of people, but we weren't trained at all. I think at that time she was like $1,500, but she didn't have the cannon. Oh. So we booked Chris Chetty and Francine from ECW instead.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because she didn't have a cannon?
Yeah, I wanted that pyro cannon. That was really the deal.
That
was really the deal breaker for us wanting to book Chyna. And then recently, I tried to book Chyna, and
how recent?
Well, I would say probably I could tell you. It was in February we tried to book Chyna.
Okay, so February of this year you tried to book Chyna
for a meet and greet appearance because I thought, since we've been getting more and more into this meet and greet thing, with people like Scott Hall and Terry Funk and
Booker T.
We're like, Chyna. People probably want to meet Chyna.
Yeah.
She was very popular during wrestling's arguably most popular era. So
So really quick, before we get into the story, people kind of, people, obviously fans, kind of want to know the ins and outs of how you book a star like Chyna or anybody that you really get. I'm sure there is it as easy as Twitter or email. Do you email her? Did you email PR people? Like, how the whole process work?
Well, we realized randomly that Chyna was following us on Twitter.
Oh.
So I sent a DM. And
you slid into her DMs, huh?
Yeah, I did. And I'm pretty sure Chyna did not run her own Twitter.
Usually how it goes.
Yeah.
And I was given an email to negotiate with, or whatever you want to call it. And Chyna's terms, man, she was running a hard bargain.
Okay, how much was it to book Chyna?
$4,000.
My goodness. Okay.
Plus.
Plus.
2 flights.
All right.
From
Who's
Los
the second
Angeles.
flight for?
Her handler, probably the guy who I was emailing.
Oh, yeah.
And she wanted also a $50 a day per diem for food and various other things, and 2 hotel rooms.
So she couldn't even share a hotel room with the handler.
No. So Chyna did not make her way to Absolute Intense Wrestling, and I would guess that she's never going to make her way to Absolute Intense Wrestling.
No. Did you tell her that Sean Waltman wanted to do it for less?
No, I did not.
These are the steep things you should have been negotiating with, John.
No. Didn't even get there. It was just I don't even think I responded to the email, to be honest with you.
So was it the $50 per diem that got you, or was
it was I think it was just all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chyna. That's a high price tag for any sort of legend. So, I don't think Chyna should be asking for more money than Terry Funk. That's just my personal belief.
Yeah.
So, Chyna, I did not respond to your email. May you rest in peace.
And there, a lot of speculation has come out about Chyna and why she passed and how she passed and the relationship.
Wasn't she on that VH1 reality show?
Well, she was on a couple. She was on the one where all the celebrities, the Surreal Life it was called, where all the celebs lived in one house.
Wasn't she on a drug one?
And then she was on the Dr. Drew Rehab show, yeah.
Yeah.
Celebrity Rehab, I guess it's called.
So she didn't make WrestleCon this year in Dallas. She was bumming out about not being part of WWE Hall of Fame and not being part of the family, quote unquote. So that's why she was going through depression, and allegedly that's why she was found OD'd. I mean, is she to you guys, one of the facets of the Attitude Era when you look back, or is she just kind of like, it was
I
cool?
mean, she's like, I mean, I don't think she's probably in the top 10 of the most
cool
prestigious
things. Yeah.
prestigious figures from the Attitude Era. I mean, definitely like, I think if you see her, then you go, oh yeah, Chyna was awesome.
Yeah.
But when you're running down everything that happened and all the memorable stuff, I don't know if I necessarily, put her at the top of the list. She was definitely a factor. She definitely did, some history-making things. But, I don't know that she had the, Hall of Fame-like career, my opinion, that a lot of people think. Yeah, she did, break some ground and things like that. But also there was really never anybody like her ever again either. So, it was kind of like situational type of thing.
What kind of makes the Hall of Fame argument, though, is that there was no one like her before, and there hasn't been somebody like her since. And that's right. That's what the Hall of Fame kind of.
I guess
epitomizes.
the Hall of Fame, I think, is more about what city they're in and who's
absolutely.
going to sell the most tickets to the Hall of Fame.
And it's about who made the most money while they were with WWE anyway.
Perhaps
it's not
WrestleMania
about,
Beijing, she'll get inducted.
It's not about
China.
I'm aware.
Okay.
it was not about titles and how many times you held the IC title. It's how much money did you make?
Well, I mean, it's not even about that.
the company.
Like, did Coco Beware have a Hall of Fame level career?
No, but I'm sure he sold a lot of merch with.
I don't know. I think it's just I really would love to know what goes into that. I would love to sit in on those Hall of Fame meeting. Like, okay, who are we gonna put in? Because sometimes it is the most random collection of people.
Yeah, there's no clear cut. Like in baseball and other sports, there's statistics. There's no 3,000 hit club, 500 home runs or whatever automatically gets you in for the WWE.
Maybe I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't know, but to me, like, I just don't. I don't think that she had the career that people are painting, online right now. Yeah, she did some cool things, but what was the length of her in-ring career? It couldn't have been that long.
Well, she wasn't that great of a worker.
Well, right, but I mean, she didn't even compete for that long of time.
It was not. I mean, she had
2 years, maybe.
She had a WrestleMania story or angle with Jericho with the whole co-holders of the title in 2000, I believe. The Mamacita thing with Eddie Guerrero, it was cool as a comedy. It was more comedy than serious wrestling anyway. So I mean, it wasn't that long. It wasn't like a 5-year tenure. It was more a couple of years.
And the way that they kind of bastardized the Generation X in recent years, I mean, you almost don't even think about her era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like we had to suffer through the Shawn Michaels, Triple H, PG DX era, which was brutal.
Atrocious.
Yeah, but I do think back. I mean, with Chyna, the two biggest things I do think back to are that original incarnation of DX, her, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Rick Rude being there as well, and because she was even involved helping out in part of the angle with when Tyson was at WrestleMania, with Austin, and then it goes to Eddie Guerrero in Chyna. That's the thing that really extended her career, I think, in WWE, because once Triple H was done with her, she could have just been out. But then they had this whole angle with Eddie that really kind of pushed it a little bit further.
I mean, let's be honest. Now that she's dead, she will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of awful to say, but that's probably the truth.
No, when Triple H and Stephanie are both tweeting that she's a trailblazer, that's the nod.
And it's kind of makes me kind of sick that they did tweet that, considering, was
right. I mean, what did Triple H say 6 months ago, like, or whatever?
It was a joke to him. It was
right.
And considering all the backstage stuff that people maybe know about but maybe don't know about, it kind of made me want to puke in my mouth when I saw those tweets from those two. But it is what it is. John, let's get into you a little bit
Me?
since I think we
Oh,
Transition from death to me.
we spent
Yeah.
one night in China. Now we're gonna get into you.
I've never been to China.
so
Nor have I.
you have had Girls Night Out 17 coming up. You got Gail Kim coming in.
Yes.
You have a lot of different ladies. This is a women's only event here. It's on Saturday here in Cleveland. AIWrestling.com. Tickets still available?
Oh yes, yes. Tickets are very available.
That's not answer's not very. Is it?
Oh no, the women's shows always sell a little bit
Towards the-
less than the regular AIW
Yeah.
events.
But
which
the
is-
DVDs.
the DVDs, they sell way more than the regular AIW events, so it's kind of like a give and take situation.
So, pimp out your event, man. Why should someone on the fence about coming to Girls Night Out? Why should they make the purchase?
Well, I mean,
and go?
first and foremost, Gail Kim wrestling on an independent event is super, super, super rare. It almost never happens, and she's going to be doing a meet and greet beforehand. So you'll be able to come, take pictures with her, get autographs, things like that. We've been doing a lot of that lately. Like a couple weeks ago we did it with Booker T, and now we're going to do it with Gail Kim. Gail Kim is probably one of the, I don't know if people have her underrated or what, but she's probably one of the best all-around workers on the planet, bar none. So we're really excited to finally be able to book her in a match. We had her booked several years ago, and she was supposed to wrestle Haley Hatred, but there were some inner promotional politics that came into play with her winning the Knockouts Championship at the time, and we were working with some companies based in Japan with Haley Hatred, who was a very decorated champion in Japan at the time. So, neither company wanted their champion to lose. It was kind of a unique situation. It was going to happen in an AIW ring in Cleveland. And, just politics came into play. So Gail Kim still came to the event, but she was not permitted to wrestle. So she did like a special guest referee thing. So that was back in 2011, 2010. I can't really remember. But she's always been someone we've kept in contact with, and we wanted to bring in, and now, we're finally in the position to where, it can happen. So I'm very excited.
You have a lot of names. I mean, with me, I've been following AIW just from, last year early on when we started, working with you and doing some interviews and whatnot. So, girls, Christina Diamond, I'm not sure if she's ever been in AIW. There's a lot of AIW debuts going on.
There's a lot of debuts happening because, this is kind of a unique situation to where, we haven't had a girls' night out in a while, and we've been trying to line it up. And, when we first started, working with a lot of these girls, they were virtually unknown. And now, they're becoming kind of the it girls in the industry. Mia Yim is the Knockouts champion now. Allison Kay just debuted for TNA. Ring of Honor is really focusing on women's wrestling now. So, people like Veda Scott are, they're obligated to Ring of Honor, and Taylor Hendricks is obligated to Ring of Honor, and, several other girls. So, a lot of the people that, we've been working with for so many years have all of a sudden, gone from, just almost being, the girls that, we're working with and developing to being, the top girls, on the scene right now. So they're extremely, extremely busy. So, we're trying to book this event around Heidi Lovelace because she's the champion, and we finally find a date to where she can make it, and everything kind of works out on our end, scheduling wise, and then all these girls that we work with all the time are just not available on this date. So we were forced to kind of go back to what Girls Night Out was basically founded on, is go out and find new talent and find the next crop of girls. So we did a lot of tape review and research and scouting and things like that. So we have plenty of debuts happening on Saturday that we're all kind of really excited about, because it's getting to kind of start over and work with so many new people.
Well, this is a show last year too, though. You had on the show you had Jasmine, who is now Aaliyah in NXT. Athena was there
right.
before she takes off to NXT. Mary Dobson, who has appeared on NXT.
Right.
And Tessa Blanchard, who has now appeared on NXT.
Right.
So, I mean, all these girls.
That's the thing, too. You
Yeah.
know, like that I forgot to mention is, with NXT has signed a lot of the girls that we were working with. So, like, we're kind of in this weird position to where we, I don't want to say we have to rebuild the Girls Night Out brand, but we have to start, looking towards the future because people are getting snatched up left and right, whether it be TNA or NXT or Ring of Honor. So, we got to kind of, go back to, like I said, what we were doing before and, finding those new girls and finding the next things and, start working with them now. And you're going to see a lot of that on Saturday.
Now, I want to talk to you about, before we get to J-Lit and the lineup you have going on for that, because there's a lot of...
Well, before you go on, I just want to...
my.
I just want to say, with the Girls Night Out show this Saturday, you're going to see Heidi Lovelace versus Crazy Mary Dobson, which I recently uploaded I believe it was both their AIW debuts. It happened at like Girls Night Out 6 or something. I can't remember, but I put it on YouTube, and I mean, they are atrocious. They were, maybe a few months into wrestling at the time, just like a total mess of a match. And I put it up there because, to know, you got to know where these girls came from, I think,
right,
to really truly understand their journey. And it's amazing to look at that match that's on the AIW YouTube right now, and then look at to where those girls are now. They're two of the top girls on the independents. Mary Dobson, Crazy Mary, very heavily scouted by WWE right now. Heidi Lovelace is wrestling all over the world. So that's a very unique thing for us, because that kind of shows what could happen. And we took these two girls that were just, I mean, they're all, I don't think they would even question me saying that they were absolutely awful. And we continued to work with them throughout the years, and they traveled and learned and went all over the place, and now they've become so good. So I'm really looking forward to that, as well as Gail Kim versus Lufisto. That is a match that I don't think you would see anywhere else on the planet. Lufisto is, man, I don't know, she got to be close to a 20-year veteran of the ring right now. One of the very best. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. We really took a lot of time putting together this card. So especially I think people that really follow women's wrestling, I think that they would really appreciate it. And then the third big attraction match is Mia Yim, Teenage Jade, against Shayna Baszler from the world of MMA and UFC, making her
Remember
transition.
the Four Horsewomen.
Right, a member of Ronda Rousey's Four Horsewomen, making her transition into pro wrestling. Mia Yim is definitely no slouch when it comes to working very stiff. So I'm very excited because I think they're gonna just beat the fuck out of each other. That's the really only way I can describe it.
Be exciting.
So if you don't like women's wrestling based on whatever reason, trust me, I've been there before. When there was a time where I kind of looked down on it, I didn't care for it, and then my eyes were opened up by Haley Hatred, several years ago, and it's. You got to kind of leave your preconceived notions at the door when you come, especially to an independent all-women's event, because you're going to see stuff, I have no problem saying that, even blows the NXT girls away, because these girls are hungry to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
Now, Steve Guy, our own Steve Guy, has been ring announcing for AIW. What, a couple times? It's been a few?
3 times.
3 times. I'm sure Steven on the top of his head would know that right away. Now, he is not announcing this Saturday. Pedro, to me, the real voice of AIW.
Yes, Pedro will be returning.
Now, Mr. Steve Guy would be the apprentice. He would be the following Pedro around on Saturday.
I like to learn from
Getting
Pedro.
Pedro's-
I like Pedro.
I like to call it job shadowing.
Job shadowing, getting Pedro's coffee, making sure his shoes are shined.
Well, here's the thing about Pedro.
That's not nice. Pedro's not a diva. He's very nice.
Pedro, will always probably be the, associated voice with the AIW, but
They did for what, 10 years almost.
Yeah.
Pedro, Pedro has a family now. Pedro has a lot more responsibilities in his life, so he is almost, indefinitely not available. He did formally retire at Absolution, and as he's become more adjusted, he's come back and he's done a few shows.
There's never an official retirement
when he can work it in, but to Steve's credit.
Okay, hold on. I'll make it a bit. So we're going to critique Steve Guy.
Glenn likes to shit on me, is what he's saying.
We're going to critique Steve Guy right now.
Well, first I want to say, to Steve's credit, it's not like there's a ring announcer school, and
Very true.
he was kind of thrown into this job with about 15 minutes notice when our replacement ring announcer MLJ was in a car accident and was unable to make it.
How does MLJ feel about this? He hasn't been back. Is his car still broken down the side of the highway?
I hear that he's advancing in his real life career, so he's also very unavailable.
Did he cut the ponytail yet?
I'm not sure.
It's a bun.
The bun. Oh, it's a
man
bun.
bun.
That's right. It's a bun.
I'm not sure on his current.
We don't want to shit out of it. It's.
Oh, he's very nice
all
too.
good fun.
But he from what I understand, he is climbing the corporate ladder, so he has very limited
good for
availability.
him.
So Steve Guy has basically inherited the ring announcing position.
Stepped in. Yeah.
In fairness, the only show that I didn't know about, like with less than a few days' notice, was the last one that I did. Forgot about Dre.
Right. So we're gonna bring Pedro in on Saturday and have Steve Guy do a little job shadowing. He's he just does some little things that it's at no fault to himself.
Okay, like what?
Like he'll mispronounce people's names sometimes or say
Things that are correctable. Right.
Yeah, nothing. It's nothing crazy. I think I did almost have a heart attack when he announced something and he was like, "And you new absolute champion if they win this match."
It was at the end of the gauntlet, and I said, "And the new absolute champion." Number one contender.
Yes.
But because I put number one contender last, you're like, oh no, did he just call him the champion?
So things like that, just which is at no fault to him because it's not like he's going off a script or going off of really any hard protocol, so to speak. It's just it's like anything else, which I'm sure podcasting or whatever. It's definitely going to be a work in progress. Steve Guy did try to have a urban accent for a little bit at the last show.
Yeah, it was supposed to be cheesy.
That's that didn't really work. People weren't feeling that bit.
I'm okay with that because the wrestlers enjoyed it. Sometimes that's just for them.
It's just little things that there's nothing specific that I can go like, Steve Guy, you fucking sucked at this.
And you're busy yourself running the show. You're running around, so you don't really have time to really sit down and critique someone, anybody that's at the event.
Well,
anyway.
and to be honest, like we were somewhat spoiled with Pedro because he just figured it out.
Yeah.
And he made it his own, which is eventually it's what Steve's gonna have to do is he's gonna have to take a little bit of the feedback from Pedro, see how he does it.
Right.
And figure out his a way to make his own I guess place or whatever. I don't think he will ever be as accepted as Pedro. I think he knows that. It's kind of
that's and I'm totally okay with that.
It's kind of like when you get a new step parent.
Yeah, it's Pedro. There is to AIW fans and even to me as an AIW fan because I've been following for a few years now. There is no other Pedro. So it's like I can't go out there and be like, I'm going to announce everything exactly like how Pedro would because that's a quick trip to getting shit on, right? It's like, oh, he's just trying to beat Pedro. You can't beat Pedro, and I'm very conscious of that. But in fairness to you, like you just said, Pedro kind of did all the stuff, figured it out as he went, and made it his own. You don't know how he did that or what his thought process was. So it's not like, and I've asked you a couple questions sometimes, but like you don't know how Pedro went about thinking it and doing it, so you can't really give me those answers either. That's just
Right. It's
you
just kind of
gotta kind of be with the guy who's done it for a decade.
it's kind of like I have so many things to worry about. The last thing I'm trying to worry about is the
Announcer.
Yeah.
the ring announcer.
It's like the announcer's like the offensive lineman. The offensive lineman only gets pointed out when he's doing something wrong.
right, which Steve has been doing a lot wrong, so he's been getting pointed out.
All right, so
Oh man.
that ends our critiquing of
I have?
Steve Guy. Now, Steve, did I shit on you at all in that segment?
No, when did people?
Thank
Wow,
you.
man, I always ask. Here's my biggest, and you probably don't know this because you're doing other stuff. My biggest credit in learning the ring announcing stuff goes to Jake and Tom as the referees. Because if there's like a moment and I'm in the ring and I'm like, oh shit, how should I really approach this, or how should I really say this? I'll just go to them immediately and be like, oh yeah, okay.
Refs make the whole thing work, man.
They really do. I mean, the last show in particular, there's a couple times, where it's like, hey, I need to know how's this going to happen? How's this going to happen? Because what I talk about, like when I go to the wrestlers ahead of time, and then obviously I'm out at the ring the entire show, there's a lot that goes on before those guys come out for their match that has changed, I've noticed, and I suddenly don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, and
but you can kind of sense it immediately. So I'll have to go like, Tom, Jake, what's going on
and
here,
that
man?
that's another thing to where Pedro just knew that stuff
Because he was with them for so long.
He would figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
But and also I'll say this: I've never ever given anybody any positive reinforcement.
You can't let him settle. Always getting better.
I gotta let you know that
That's okay.
You need to get better, and
I want to get better.
you'll never.
Tom.
I just want you to strive for my approval, which you're never gonna get.
There you go. Now, Steve, did I shit on you?
No.
So you could take that back. Take it back what you said earlier.
Well, you like seeing me get shit on. I will say this.
Did I enjoy that?
You a little bit. Come on.
Did I partake in anything?
You didn't
in that?
partake, but I think a little bit of you enjoyed it.
didn't say anything
how about
bad.
the first show that I ring announced? Who was the only person booing me in the audience?
I would expect
My
you to
co-host
boo
Glenn
me
Moore.
too.
Well,
I would.
You should have saw the people booing you in the back.
Well,
behind the curtain.
in fairness to Glenn, if there's good cop, bad cop when we do this, or heel face,
I'm the heel.
a long time ago,
I embrace
Glenn
it.
he said, I like to be the heel. All right, no
I'm
problem.
In fairness to our fans here at the This Is Awesome Wrestling Podcast,
Wrestling show.
podcast.
No, don't say podcast.
Okay, wrestling
Thank
show,
you.
no podcast. And in fairness to our fans of the show, let's move on because nobody wants to hear a ring announcer podcast.
Yeah,
show,
trying to
whatever
get
you want to call it.
get over on your own, Steve. Not through the show.
Hey, I didn't bring this up. You.
I want to.
People don't want to hear about ring.
I'll tell you who's over at AIW. Space Monkey. I tell him that every show.
Okay, here we go. Leading to perfect segue into my next discussion.
Space Monkey's
Now,
so over.
Ethan Page, Josh Alexander, they have their own podcast, and John Thorne. The latest episode, your name is brought up quite not a lot, but I would say more than just a name drop.
Let's hear
Oh.
it because I don't listen to it. I'll be
Hashtag
perfectly
get John
honest.
Thorne
You don't
famous.
listen to the podcast? Weren't you a guest on the podcast?
I am a guest on a lot of podcasts.
Well, you were a guest on this one in some hotel room, I
don't-
believe.
I don't listen. I don't listen to it. I mean, there's so many podcasts out there these days. I listen to Cole Cabanas, and that's really all I could commit to.
In this one, sometimes.
Sometimes, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I listen to my car. I
you
can
don't.
hook up the Bluetooth.
You don't fucking listen.
I
He does.
listen.
Every once in a while, I get a text message.
All right. So they have the Meaning of Mature podcast, which is everybody should go down. This free plug for them. Did not pay for this. You having trouble with your mic?
No, I'm just getting worried about what you're going to bring up because when I did appear
No,
on
it's
their
all
po-
good. Nothing bad.
When I did appear on their podcast, I was very
It was not
intoxicated.
bad at
I
all.
I said some very mean things about Ethan Page's wedding.
Oh, man.
So
which I don't take back.
So Ethan Page, Josh Alexander, Joey Kings, they have a podcast. It's basically talking wrestling, just talking about the maybe in and outs of what goes on behind the scenes with these three guys. Because Ethan and Josh, have traveled the road together. Obviously, wrestled together and whatnot, and obviously Joey Kings too. So John Thorne's names get brought up a few times because Josh Alexander is out of retirement, and he dropped your name for one of the reasons why he was unretiring.
Oh.
So is there a reason for the reason why he would say?
I
Josh
mean,
Thorne?
I don't
John
know.
Thorne?
I mean, this is news to me that it would be that would be because of me.
Oh, so you're saying he's not number 24 or 25?
He is number 24.
There it is.
There it is.
But
Which kind of that wasn't hinted in the podcast, but it kind of. If you're an AIW fan listening, you kind of had a hint like, oh, he's like, oh, I can't want to come back. I'm gonna do Alpha One. I'm gonna want to do AIW. So, he did hint. Not
I mean, he wasn't booked until after he had already come out of retirement, though.
But you kind of knew he was going to come back. He was going to come back to AIW, obviously. He had nothing but great things to say about AIW. He loves coming to Cleveland and loves coming to AIW.
I mean, I would fuck with him ever since he retired.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you'll be back.
Okay, that's the reason why he said it, because you always said, you'll be back, you'll be back.
Yeah, and I never really sold his retirement ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Josh Alexander is, by the time this comes out, it will be made public. Josh Alexander will be number 24 in the JLIT. He will be the final announcement.
There you go.
The final participant entering the JLIT, making his return in almost, a year absence.
Almost a year,
from
yeah.
AIW.
What dropped in at Absolution, right?
Yeah, and which he wasn't even cleared to wrestle at Absolution. He simply did that to, so we didn't have to vacate the belt. He was actually supposed to have a very long run with the title, and then he had these neck problems come up. He was basically told that he couldn't even take a bump again.
Was he misdiagnosed? Basically, twice, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he released a big statement.
I read that statement.
Yeah.
You can find it on his Twitter at Walking Weapon. But he had a series of neck problems over the last few years. So when he announced his retirement, he was very I'm retired. He recently had a child. But me, like I just got done telling Steve, I'll never put anything over. I'll never sell anything. So I would just say, you'll be back.
Yeah, that's what he kept saying. It's like, oh, you'll be back, you'll be back. John Thorne kept saying.
When I did appear on their podcast when I was drunk, I think I said, I might have even said someone would have to go back and listen. I might have even said jokingly like, oh yeah, you'll be in the JLIT. But he will be number 24. I'm excited to see, what kind of condition he's in, where he's at physically, because what he says, what a person says, and what they, actions speak louder than words. So, we'll see what happens.
This will not be his in-ring return. He's facing Heidi Lovelace, I think, the weekend before.
Yeah. At
Alpha One.
Yes.
So, but this is his AIW return, and he's facing Heidi. So this is his male versus
Yeah, this is
his
this
male
is his,
in-ring return,
and it could it could prove to be a long weekend for him, or it could be a real short weekend. It is a tournament.
Yeah.
There'll be 23 other people in there. Who knows? He could land Dan Severn in the round one, and he can get his neck broken.
Are
again.
your JLIT brackets is it filled out? Are the matchups made?
No, we have not. To be perfectly honest, we have not made the matches yet or the brackets.
How do you figure that out? Is this drawing or is it fantasy booking? I mean, what do you do?
The process to booking the JLIT is much like booking the Gauntlet for the Gold. It is a science project, for lack of a better term.
So basically, pulling names out of a hat.
No, I mean there is booking the Gauntlet for the Gold takes hours.
Yeah.
And it's essentially myself and Chandler Biggins and a few other people. We have a few group chats on Facebook, and we'll throw different ideas out, and some people will give feedback, and we'll take all that into consideration, and then essentially myself and Chandler Biggins, we will go to a diner or a Denny's, and we'll basically argue with each other for hours on he'll say, let's do this, this, and this. And I'll say, well, it doesn't make sense because this, and this. And then I'll say, let's do this, and then he'll, rebuttal, well, it doesn't make sense because this, and this. Because you got to take into consideration all the storylines that are going on, all the, all the, affiliations past or present that, that are happening, all, where you want to go. So it's the same thing, with the J-Lit, on top of the fact that, we bring in these special guests for J-Lit weekend, like that aren't normally in AIW, like a Dan Severn or a Billy Gunn or a Big Damo who we're bringing in from Ireland. So, there's so many different factors that come into play. Essentially, it's hard enough to lock down the 24 people.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time that, knock on wood, if I can find any, that we've booked 24, and we're hoping we don't have to change anybody, because every year something has happened to where we've had to change the lineup dramatically. This year, there was a few things behind the scenes. Amazing Red was booked, and then, he was forced to pull out, and Michael Elgin was booked, and he got pulled by New Japan. So, there were a few things behind the scenes that kind of, messed up the initial lineup. But luckily this year, we're hoping that nothing changes with who we have announced. We try to get the 24 the 24 people booked, and then we go from there. To be honest, Josh Alexander wasn't booked until probably a week ago when New Japan pulled Michael Elgin. He's being forced to go back to go back to New Japan earlier than expected. So I just sent Josh a DM because it was literally the day that he returned to the ring, I think, or the day after. And I just sent him a DM. I said, "Hey, you're booked May 27th and 28th."
Is this your
or this 27th?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Is this your fullest, I guess, most fully loaded lineup of J-Lit that you've ever had?
Yeah.
I mean, you've probably had ones in the past where it's like, okay, well, these people are somewhat now, but in terms of where these 24 stand currently in the wrestling world,
this one is by far the biggest, the biggest undertaking we've ever attempted. We've tried different things throughout the years. Like anything else, it's a lot of trial and error. And this year we were just kind of like, I was very disappointed with last year. There are a lot of things went wrong with last year's tournament. So we did it. We really focused on it. We've dropped the ticket prices dramatically for this year. You can go to both days front row for $65, which a lot of these promotions, when they book a tournament, like this, they, you're lucky to go to one day for $60.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do a lot of things differently. And kind of learn from our mistakes in the past. Last year we had several issues with the tournament. On top of the Cavs had a playoff game. On top of the Michael Brillo verdict came out on the morning of day 2, which caused lots of unrest and panic throughout the Cleveland area. There's lots of civil protests going on, but a lot of people were scared to come out that day based on the unknown. So there were so many things that went wrong with last year's tournament. We were really trying to put our best foot forward this year, and on top of that, it's kind of a ballsy move in lowering the ticket prices, which kind of has us a little worried. But we kind of want to lower it, make it affordable for everybody. 3 shows plus a live Art of Wrestling podcast for $65. You can't beat that. So we're hoping that this year we see a better turnout, and hoping that people realize that the caliber of talent that we're bringing in for the entire weekend. Because when we book the people, they're there for the entire weekend, no matter if they're wrestling on day 2 or not.
Now, this is J-Lit the final show before Absolution? Are you doing one in June?
It was, but I'll give you guys an exclusive.
Oh,
we will be returning to Tequila Jack's and Mentor on the Lake.
on
June 17th. and I just confirmed it just now, sitting here, to be perfectly honest. But
What's it going to be called?
What's it going to be called?
Yeah.
It's going to be called "What's in the Basement Klopek?" ? The Burbs reference, for all of you that don't know.
That's amazing.
And
Is Tom Hanks going to make an appearance?
yes, and I just confirmed that we will be doing Facade versus Joey Janela 2.
Oh,
right.
boy.
At Tequila Jack's.
Will there be no rules?
There will be absolutely no rules.
Oh, boy.
So how are your Absolution preparations coming? Because I
Uh,
know last year we had a lot of troubles with the venue last year.
we will be sticking with Mount Carmel this year for Absolution,
Okay.
based on all the nonsense that went on last year with with that other venue. Mount Carmel, I think, is very accommodating to us. People are familiar with it. They have air conditioning. Do
Do they?
Yes.
Just hasn't been turned on yet?
Yeah, they just taught me how to use it last year.
Oh, okay.
But it's we would like to go to a big venue, but ultimately, we thought Mount Carmel would be a better fit. People are just familiar with it. There's enough room to fit a lot of people in there. There were so many issues with that, with that other venue last year. On top of the fact that we sold it out in advance,
Yeah.
and there was nothing we could do about it.
It looked cool, though.
It was probably 3 times as expensive to rent than Mount Carmel. They told us that they would sell alcohol, which they didn't. Which I'm very conscious that people want to come to AIW shows and drink beer and have fun. So that was kind of a big letdown.
They'd have donuts though.
They did have donuts,
For
but
some random reason.
unfortunately, you can't get drunk off a donut.
It's something else random that we ate that day.
Corn
What
dogs.
was it? Yeah, corn dogs.
Did we get corn dog? No.
Yeah, it was-
They've
Did we get
actually
corn dogs?
that venue's actually been they've been pursuing us very heavily to come back because
of
I don't.
course.
But it's just I think things are going well at Mount Carmel. This really doesn't affect the fans, but it has a very, very roomy locker room. Which is very accommodating for the performers. Mount Carmel's a good fit. So Absolution will be July 22nd at Mount Carmel.
Okay. My birthday weekend for me.
There, you're gonna kick it off.
Is Vader going to be there?
No.
Come
No,
on,
what's the
bring
date
Vader
there?
back.
July 22nd.
Okay.
Have
Oh, yeah,
you-
I do have that in the calendar.
Have you
Okay.
booked anybody big for Absolution yet?
We've been toying around with the idea of, do we need to book somebody big? Do we not need to book somebody big? What we're trying to do is we're trying to see if we can possibly lock down a surprise or two.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a work in progress. We have some ideas that we don't want to reveal yet, but I have a tentative card already in mind. We're working on a few cool things, but we got to wait for people's schedules to come out and television taping things. We're working with several different people, several different.
Yes. Will we ever see a return to AIW of EC3 or Matt Cross?
I mean, there's those guys are very busy guys. Last year was that was such a rare thing to be able to get all those guys under one roof for one match in that main event match.
What an incredible main event.
Which I will let you know that we traded in our original plan, which was to book the Great Khali at Absolution last year.
Bullshit.
Oh, it was very, very close to happening. It was. I would say
No.
the deal was about 90% done, and that fell through because we thought it would just be so weird and so random.
The Pujami Playboy.
Yes, it was close. It was close. I believe it was going to be. It was going to be the Great Khali,
Oh my goodness.
Sonjay Dutt, and I can't think of who else off the top of my head, but they were going to wrestle the Iron Curtain.
Oh, terrific.
That deal kind of slowly fell apart, which probably for the best. But
Will we see Scott Steiner absolution?
there no negotiations at this time.
Okay, we gotta get Big Papa pumped.
He's a Shoney's now.
He's
Yeah.
you
He's
know,
a
Plugging-
busy
we've been
man.
plugging his restaurant.
he's one of the guys that's that's on the dream list. He might be the only guy left on the dream list.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to make Scott Steiner and AIW happen before the end of the year. But yeah, we got a couple irons in the fire for Absolution. A couple different ideas, but it will happen July 22nd at Mount Carmel. That's really the only thing that's for sure.
Will you commission a special stage setup for Absolution?
I don't know that I need to commission it. Those guys,
They love it.
they just come and build things.
They love it.
Yeah, I don't know. They fucking, they had heads on fucking poles for Hell on Earth. They do
Yeah.
all sorts of different things.
They're like, do you want fog when you come out? No, I don't want fog. I'm the ring announcer.
I mean, those guys are crazy.
They
But
fog
yeah.
me every time.
who knows? There's nothing. There's nothing officially commissioned at this time. But those guys just, the guy told me that I essentially saved his life because he was just dying of boredom.
Yeah.
Because he was like a high school soccer coach or something, or intramural soccer coach.
Who does this? Who does the music?
His name is Jeff Traxler.
Okay, he does a below average job of the music.
Well, I mean, we got a long running relationship with Jeff Traxler. He's got to take the good with the bad.
He ends entrance music way too soon before the guys are even off the doing their things in the ring. He spoiled a return.
Glenn wants to fade out of
I
the
need
music.
to fade out. He
instead
spoiled
of the immediate cutoff.
He spoiled a return. He played the music before even the guy came out. It was I forget. It was last show, I believe. But it was it was awful. So if you need a new audio guy, let me know because I'm your man. But
Well, I
still.
mean,
man.
I will definitely keep that under my hat, my Grado hat right here,
Thank you.
because
There you go.
all
right.
that's essentially the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Would be
Is the audio?
we bought new mics.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
so-
one cuts out, and one does not.
well, I mean, we got to mark that one then.
Yeah, one has a black tape and one has a white tape.
Will Steve ever
So
take
there's
a bump?
difference.
If he keeps being a shitty ring announcer, he'll take one.
I was used as a weapon last show.
Did not see that.
What else you guys want to know before we wrap it up here?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Did you see me? Did you see me get used as a weapon?
Okay, we're not trying to get you over,
No,
Steve. Come
I
on.
don't.
It
I
was
don't-
fun.
I don't watch the shows.
Dick Justice threw me into Jock Sampson.
I don't watch it yet.
All right. Anything else you want to plug before we let you go,
What?
Mr. Thorne?
You know what? Give the history of J-Lit. Because we have, we talked about it a little bit last year, but we're now a whole year.
Well, we're
further
running on an
along.
hour, Steve. So we
Running
got
out
to
of
wrap
time.
Well,
it
he
up.
could give us a quick
When-
history.
it's a month away, so we have
Let's
a
come
month
back.
to go over.
Let me come back. Let me prepare.
well,
some
you're
notes.
not that good, John.
Let me
We'll
prepare
have
some
him-
notes.
We'll have him come back the week of J-Lit and promote it and whatnot.
Let's do it. Maybe I'll have Dan Severn with me because he wants to come into town 2 weeks in advance.
Oh, bring the beast.
You know what we should do?
He signs his emails beast out.
We
The
should do
original
We
beast.
should do a live show recording podcast the whole night at Mount Carmel from Friday. The after party's Friday. Can't do that.
Yeah, the after party, a lot of private things happen. I don't know if we want
A lot of private things, huh?
a lot of secret things happen.
Where is
Ooh.
the after party at? Is this,
The after party will be at a establishment in Brook Park called Nax.
Nax?
It is 1.3 miles away from the official J-Lit Hotel, which is the America's
American
Best
Value,
Do
Value
you
Inn.
want me to get you former members of the Cleveland band Iphonic to come perform their song after party?
I don't even know what that means, man.
I don't, you
But,
don't want them to come. No.
I hear very good things about Nax, so we're going to bring the AIW Chaos, which is the J-Lit after party. Gets extremely out of hand.
It's free for fans, correct?
It is free for fans. We're gonna get probably the entire roster will be in this bar partying. You can kind of just watch from afar. You can participate. 2 years ago, it got really out of hand. There was
Wasn't Buff Bagwell?
Buff Bagwell got behind the
bartending?
bar. There were several wrestlers doing inappropriate things in public. So last year we kind of reeled it in. We did not make a public after party, and this year we're bringing it back in hopes that everyone could behave while they're in front of the public eye. We'll see what happens, but I'm sure it will get extremely out of hand, and nobody will want to miss it.
Can't wait. I might have to get a hotel room there.
Yes, it is $55 for a double bed.
Really?
Yes. So, that's
Sign me up.
and that's where all the wrestlers will be staying. It's, like I said, like 1.3 miles away from the hotel will be the after party.
I'll have Potato Uber me.
Yeah. That's what you got to work on next. You got to get us like an Uber or a bus sponsor so we can just bus everybody over.
There
But
you go.
yeah,
We could work on that.
I expect everyone will be drunk. I'm hoping Mr. Ass is doing butt dances and knacks after the show.
Found out we got an hour. We got it. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
Terry Funk, will he ever be back in AIW?
I hope so.
Okay.
Sometimes he accidentally FaceTime dials me.
He has an iPhone?
Oh yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
I swear.
That's
Oh,
terrific.
Do you like
I
see
just got a
him?
new phone. No. Then I call him and he goes, "I think I butt dialed you, John."
Terrific.
I butt down.
All right. Make sure to hit up thisisawesomerewrestlingshow.com after April 30th so our website doesn't crash. If it hasn't crashed already for the third time, go to our iTunes feed, Libsyn, Stitcher, all the ways to listen. Thisisawesomerewrestlingshow.com. Make sure to support independent wrestling here in Cleveland, Ohio. If you are from PA, New York, West Virginia, Ohio, make sure to hit up AIWrestling.com for all their events and news. And John, we really appreciate you coming in studio, being a part of the show, being our third quote-unquote co-host.
I apologize for all the ring announcer talk to all the fans.
Yeah, trying to get the ring announcer.
Me
over.
too.
Boring the fuck out of them.
Yeah. So we'll talk to you guys next week on the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show. This has been episode 81 in the books. See ya.